if we as leaders can remember to be intentional and to role model great behavior where we demonstrate that we are more than our job role, we are human beings who care about each other and show curiosity in each other's lives, then that generates an environment where everybody else feels okay to do it. But I think also just really simply, like so many things, just talking about it, right? Just talking about how hard it is to make time for anything beyond the transactional, talking about how important it is to laugh at work, to have conversations at work about, what's going on for us outside, the fact that it's just more fun when you can start a meeting talking about something that's gone really well in your life that's got nothing to do with work this week.
Yes.
Um, just having the conversation, I think, is a huge, huge part of it, that we underestimate the power of just chatting about stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your story, I think, is brilliant because it underpins the differences in what happens in organizations, right? So you have a person who has, for through whatever mechanism, been told, and that doesn't mean someone said it to her, but she's learned through whatever's happening in the organization that her job is to deliver on the technical aspects of her role and do good contracts, deliver the work quickly and get it out the door, only to sit down and be told that's not at all what she's being judged on. She's being judged on how effectively she works with the team. My guess is no one ever said that to her. No one ever sat down and said, "This is what we value," nor was there space created for the time to do that or the coaching, like with people like you, to help her learn to do that if it's not natural for her. So I think
Yeah.
it's if you don't do the role modeling and you don't create the space, and I'm not saying I always say this to people, I'm not saying that any business owner or CEO does that on purpose. Like I know as a business owner, you've been one too. There are times when you are running full tilt and trying to keep the lights on and figuring out payroll and everything else. But as soon as we forget that we are people dealing with people, everything gets worse.
Mm,
Everything
mm.
gets harder. If you can just help people create the space to remember, before you have that difficult conversation, you are talking to another person who's probably just as uncomfortable in this conversation as you are. It shifts the lens on the conversation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think what you're just speaking to is the criticality of setting out our expectations, right, as leaders. That so often in the intensity of our working lives, we forget to just set out the basics, right? So, a new starter conversation can go along so many really interesting and lines where we're all really energized. What are the key goals? What are the key priorities? What are the things we care most about? You've got to get in there somewhere, whether it's in your initial advertising, your interview, or your early conversations with someone who's just joined you. These are the things that we also care about in this organization. Here are our values, or here is how we want to show up together. Whatever your expression of that is, it doesn't really matter, right? But some expression that says, these are our expectations around how we will show up together and how decent and honest and caring we are going to be with each other. This is what matters. And then a nuance on that, and I still think this is really important to your original question about relationships and why do they get so challenging in organizations. Um, my nuance is like, let's just really not fall into the assumption that you have to be either really performance orientated or really caring. Like, I think there's such an unhelpful misconception in business life, and I've seen it in North America as well as in Europe, of if we put too much emphasis on being good people and caring about each other and relationships, then everyone's just going to sit around talking about their kids all day, and we're not actually going to get any work done. And I'm like, that's not
It's not
true. Like, if you've got the right people who care about results and outcomes and doing a great job and who are ambitious and driven, it's probably the opposite. You're probably going to have to persuade them to stop and take a breath and have a break and go for lunch sometimes. So like you can have both. It's not one or the other.